Hey guys, this is me. I'm just going to go over some problems that are very similar to the homework problems as sort of a little helper for you. And I hope this is helpful. You're going to have to give me some feedback. So here we go. Okay, let's do kilograms to milligrams. Okay, so let's say we want to find 50 kilograms in milligrams. Okay. Now, kilograms, recall that there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram, okay? And there are 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram, okay? These two are facts. You can find these on Google. It is true, I promise. So now that we know that, right, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to multiply. First, we're going to transfer kilograms to grams, and then we're going to go from grams to milligrams since we're getting smaller and smaller. So 50 kilograms, right, times 1 equals 50 kilograms, okay? And just like before, that's the same thing as saying 50 kilograms times something divided by something equal to itself. So that's going to be 1,000 grams over 1 kilogram. And again, this is going to become second nature to you guys pretty soon. It's still equal to 50 kilograms because we didn't change anything. Crossing up the kilograms, and we get 4 zeros. Grams are equal to 50 kilograms. But we're not done yet because we want milligrams, right? So again, it's kosher to multiply this by a 1. So this implies that 50,000 grams times 1 equals 50 kilograms, which implies that 50,000 grams times something that's equal to itself over something equal to itself, So 1,000 milligrams over 1 gram equals 50 kilograms, which means, again, we're going to add all these zeros on. So we get 50, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 milligrams are equal to 50 kilograms. And again, we want this in scientific notation, so we just count the zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This equals 5 times 10 to the 7th milligrams are equal to 50 kilograms, okay? With that, you guys should have no problem doing your homework, okay? So now we're going to do part 2, solving for alpha. Nobody seems to have a problem with that, so I'm going to leave you to that yourself. If you do have problems with that, there's nothing wrong with that because not everybody has learned that already. Come and talk to me. I'll give you a hint though, it really is as easy as it looks. For part C, use the quadratic equation. I'm giving you permission to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and skip to something that's similar to number 3 on the homework to complete the square. Okay, completing the square and solving for x. Okay, so let's start with something simple. Okay, we're just going to make this up. It's going to be really icky and complicated, worse than the homework given. So x squared, let's do plus, 5x plus 16 equals there. Let me just make sure that doesn't actually work. It doesn't work. Perfect. Okay. So we look at this, okay, and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, we learned in all of our other classes that you want to get x by itself. So we start off like any good math student and we subtract 16 from both sides. We get x squared plus 5x equals negative 16. Okay, we're on our way. Then we do step 2, which is to factor. So we pull out an x plus 5 equals negative 16. But, we can't solve this. So we have a problem. We're stuck. This doesn't work. So instead, we're going to try something else, okay? Again, we're doing x squared plus 5x plus 16 equals 0. We're going to use a tool called completing the square. And the way that we do that is we remember that really the variable that we want by itself, there's only one variable in this equation, right? And that's the x. So that's what we want to leave alone, simply because you don't want to make more of them. Now, we don't care if we add more numbers onto the end more. We can add a plus 5, minus a plus 5. We don't care about making this ugly in terms of numbers. We just care about making it ugly in terms of x's because we want just one x at the very end, okay? Now, it would be really nice if we could get something that is in this form, okay? Because we can solve that, right? Look at this, because you see if a is a number and b is a number, then we get x plus a squared equals negative b. Then x plus a equals the plus or minus square root of negative b, which by the way is the same thing as saying plus or minus I radical b. We'll talk about this later. Okay, you don't really need, you can leave a negative sign in for class even though technically it's not kosher. And that means that x equals negative a plus or minus the square root of negative b. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. Look at that, we can solve it. So it would be really nice if we could make something of this form out of this, okay? So in order to do that, we're gonna start off with something of this form. We're gonna solve for a and b. So let's do this. We're gonna say x plus a squared plus b, right, equals 0. And we're gonna set this equal to this, which is our original formula right here, right? Just because we wanna get something to look like this from this, okay? So we're gonna do what all good mathematicians do, and we're gonna expand this out before we do anything else. Excuse me, I'm sorry, x plus a plus b equals x squared plus 5x plus 16. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Now let's multiply it out again. We know how to FOIL. First we do firsts, so we get x squared. Then we do outsides plus ax, insides plus ax, and lasts plus a squared plus b. Remember, this has to be there. Don't forget that's very important. Equals x squared plus 5x plus 16. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. I want you to look at that and tell me that it's kosher. It's kosher. It's kosher. Awesome, it's kosher. It's kosher. Kosher! Good. Right, so now we're going to simplify it out. X squared plus 2ax, a1 plus 1 is 2, plus a squared plus b equals x squared plus 5x plus 16. Now I'm going to teach you a little trick that you can use in all your math classes, all your science classes, forever and ever, amen. Anytime you have an x or to a certain power on one side of the equal sign, and you have it only in one other place on the other side of the equal sign, so if I only have one kind of an x squared, if I had a 16x squared and an x squared, this wouldn't be kosher. But since I just have the one, I know that anything of that power are going to be equal to each other. That might not make sense right now, but just take my word for it, okay? So even though I hate to say, no, don't take my word for it. It makes sense because x is a variable, and that's what we need alone. That's the only thing that stays constant that we're not going to change. So as a result, it needs to be carried through. I'll be happy to talk about it more in private if you guys want to discuss it. Now, we can subtract x squared on both sides, and this automatically goes away, right? So we're happy with that. And remember the little trick I just said, since this has an x on it and this has an x on it, they have to be equal to each other. So that means that 2ax has to equal 5x, okay? So we're going to solve this. We get 2a equals 5, and oh my gosh, a equals 5 halves. Now just look for a second. I want you to notice that 5 halves is a, which is just this middle factor divided by 2. That is always true when you complete the square. We're just going to take the middle factor, divide it by 2, and that's your a. We just proved it, but you should know that forever and ever, amen. You still have to prove it in your homework, but it's a good check. You know that you got the right answer if that's what you get, and you've already got the majority of your homework points just by getting this far. Okay, now we're going to plug it into this equation up here, so because we have an a. So that means that I'm sorry, I'm not going to plug it up here, I apologize. We're going to plug it in over here. So we have a equals 5 halves, okay? So that means that if we plug it in over here, right, we get x squared plus 2 times 5 halves x plus 5 halves squared, right, plus b, excuse me, I'm sorry, right, equals x squared plus 5x plus 16. Okay, let's see if this is true. X squareds go away. This becomes 5x, they go away. So all we get is 5 halves squared plus b, some b, equals 16. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, I hope you can. Okay, good. So that implies that we're going to square this out. 25 fourths plus b equals 16, which means that b equals 16 minus 25 fourths, which is just equal to 4 times 16 minus 25 over 4. By the way, your homework is a lot less complicated than this. I'm just using a complicated number to give you so that you for sure will get your homework right. So that means we have an answer for B. I'm not going to even bother to solve it. In my class, you never have to do that. You can just leave it messy. That's fine. It's just more work for you. And now, look at that. So we have a B. We're good. We have an A. We're good. So we already have something of this form. We're going to say that means that X plus, where's our A? A is 5 halves. 5 halves squared plus our B, which is right here. 4 times 16 minus 25 over 4 equals 0. All right? We just completed this square. That's part 1, okay? Now, if you multiply this out, you will find that it's equal to x squared plus 5x plus 16. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to do it very quickly just to prove it to you, okay? So the equation that we just found, if you recall, is x plus 5 halves squared plus, I'm just going to multiply out 4 times 16 quickly just to, if I get it wrong, I really apologize. I shouldn't though. Just to, make the math easier. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6, 64. And 64 minus 25 is 39, okay? So B, just as an aside, B equals 39 fourths. A equals 5 halves, okay? So this is our A squared, right? Plus our B, which is going to be 39 fourths. 39 fourths is just 4 times 16 minus 25 over 4 equals 0, okay? Now remember our original equation that we're trying to solve is this one, x squared plus 5x plus 16 equals 0. So let's just check and make sure they're equal. So x plus 5 halves times x plus 5 halves plus 39 over 4 equals 0. FOIL x squared, outside, inside, we're going to get 5 halves plus 5 halves. 2 halves of a pie equal a whole pie, right? 1/2 a pie plus 1/2 a pie is a whole pie. 1/2 of 5 plus 1/2 of 5 is a whole 5. So plus 5x, because remember it's by x, plus 25 over 4, plus, we're going to bring this down, 39 over 4 equals 0. We just found that 25 plus 39 equals 64. X squared plus 5x plus 64 over 4 equals 0. 64 divided by 4 is 16. So this equals x squared plus 5x plus 16, which equals 0. Notice that's exactly, so these two things are equivalent. This equals this. They're the same thing. Awesome. So we can solve this for x very easily. Everybody in my class should be able to do this part. The x plus 5 halves squared plus 39 fourths equals 0. Subtract from both sides. We get x plus 5 halves squared equals negative 39 over 4. Okay? That means that x plus 5 halves, because we want to take the square root of both sides, the plus or minus square root of both sides. We get x plus 5 halves equals plus or minus square root of negative 39 over 4. Remember, this is really an I, so we'll just do that in parentheses, equals plus or minus I radical 39 over 4. But again, you don't need to do that for my class. Which means that x equals negative 5 halves plus or minus I radical 39 over 4. And if you want to be very cute and meticulous, you can really simplify this to x equals negative 5 halves plus or minus, notice the square root of 4 is 2, so it's I radical 39 over 2, and we have a common denominator, so this equals negative 5 plus or minus I radical 39 over 2. And that's it. And yours is a lot easier than this. If you can do this, you can do anything. For the last problem, proving the quadratic equation, Google it and just follow it step by step, but make sure you are meticulous. That means that I want to see every single step. If you just write an answer, you will get a 0. However, if you work it out and I see all of your work and you really have it, you really understand the concept, but you get the wrong number at the end, you will get the vast majority of the points on your homework. Oftentimes I'll just take off half a point or a point and then I'll give it back to you, and then when you correct it, you'll get back half of the points that you lost. So let's say out of 5 points on a homework problem, right, if you get 4 out of 5, then I hand it back to you and you correct that one part that you got wrong, you just write in the right number, and then you get that half point back, so you end up with a 4.5 out of 5, which is pretty impressive. So you guys will be just fine. I'm not worried about you. I'm really excited to see you on Monday. Give me feedback for this video. Tell me if it was helpful. If not, I can maybe meet some of you guys after school tomorrow. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in. Take care and hatzlacha.